Hello and welcome to today's podcast with real people, real talk and real business. It gives me great pleasure to be able to introduce and interview this morning Bernadette Geyer, and she's the founder of Geyer Editorial Services in 2006 and offers copy editing, which we all know that we need, and translation to a variety of clients from solo entrepreneurs and professional speakers to startups and small business. With more than 25 years of marketing experience, she also serves as head of marketing and outreach for Hostwriter, which is a Berlin-based marketing non-for-profit company. In 2018, Geyer published her first business book, Branding for Beginners: Why Consistency is the Key to Creating and Maintaining a Brand Image. So you can find more information from GeyerEditorial.com. But today we have Bernadette here with us chatting. So welcome, Bernadette.
Thank you very much, Leanne.
So tell us how did you start in business? How did this eventuate?
Well, I had been working as the director of education and outreach for a nonprofit in Washington, D.C. And out of all of the activities that I did in that position, I realized how much I loved just writing and proofreading and copy editing and really making our publications as good as they could be. And I really did not like all of the more managerial stuff, like dealing with budgets and things. So I realized that I wanted to eventually go freelance. And I actually talked with my boss about this, and I told him that, when my husband and I had a kid, that I planned to go freelance, and, I wanted to give him a little heads up. And he was really, open to it, and he actually became my first client after I went freelance.
Oh, that's awesome. So how long ago? Oh, that we said that in your bio. That was in 2016?
2006.
Six. You've been doing this a long time.
Yes, I have. And honestly, when I started out, because I already had my first client, being my former boss, I didn't push myself as hard as I could have. And it was really only after my husband and I moved with our daughter to Berlin, Germany, that it was, really sink or swim time. I created a website for my business and really started figuring out ways to market myself.
Can we talk about that? Because I know that's one of the biggest struggles, Bernadette, for business owners today. I think for many of us, we start out with, a goal to, earn just a few $100s or whatever. And then sometimes we go, well, hang on, this is serious business and this is what I really want to do. So how did you do that marketing? Like, we know today that creating a website and just a Facebook page isn't enough anymore. So can you take us through those sort of early steps of what you had to do, not specifically, but just generally?
Sure. I think most of the initial marketing that I did for myself was on social media, really, reaching out to everyone, letting everybody that I knew know that I was looking for new clients. So I did end up picking up some clients who were, friends of friends who, maybe one of my former, neighbors back in the States would say, oh, I just found out about so-and-so who could use someone to copy edit their blog posts. And people, I was very involved in the literary community in the Washington, D.C. area. So I knew a lot of publishers, and through that got contacts from people to do copy editing of books. And that, is really something that can be done from anywhere. So initially it was, all online, but since moving to Germany, I kind of had to switch my mindset, because here it is very much more about relationships and building trust. So a lot of people rely on referrals from their friends as to who they should work with. And so it really became a lot more about meeting people in person and going to conferences and talking to people and getting testimonials from my local clients, who would then refer me to friends of theirs.
And word of mouth marketing is still the main source of business, but how you tap into that, whether it be social or face-to-face, is completely different, like you said. So that meant that you had to go to networking events and put more time and effort into your actual business, which is you.
Yes, exactly. And really, in 2018, I set a goal of attending, I think I said 8 to 10 conferences to go and meet people face to face. And I overachieved a little bit and went to 12 or 13.
Fantastic. So can I just tap into, because I'm really curious how people do this. So you've met people at conferences. Did you have a follow-up system, whether it was, connecting on LinkedIn or just talking to them by email?
Yes, typically it was talking to people by email. So what I would do is a lot of times I would go to trade fairs. The startup industry is quite big here in Berlin, and I would go to startup conferences or trade fairs for companies that dealt with the Internet of Things. And I would wander around and I would check out businesses that I thought, looked cool, and that that had sort of something that something that resonated with me, be it a service or a product that I thought, wow, I can really see how this will improve the world. And then I would approach them and talk to them about what they're doing. And I would really kind of get a feel for where they were at in their business development stage. So as a copy editor and translator, I tend to work with companies that are very small, who don't have enough work or enough funding to support someone who works full time as a copy editor or translator. So really, I was looking to determine that before I launched into any sort of sales pitch for myself or anything.
Perfect. I did have a question on the tip of my tongue. Oh, yes. So talking about copy editing, like I know personally how powerful blogs are for business. Do you find a lot of businesses coming to you to do the copy for their blogs, or do you still see blog writing as a bit of a has-been and hasn't quite caught up yet?
Actually, while I don't do copywriting of blogs, the companies that I have worked for, including some solopreneurs, people who are life coaches, this is still quite a large part of their business process, is doing blog posts. That's what resonates for them with their potential clients. And so I do provide copy editing of blog posts and translations. So for instance, I work with a life coach here in Berlin who she typically coaches German clients, but she wanted to reach more and more English-speaking clients, because there is quite a large English-speaking population in Berlin. So she wanted to reach out to more English speakers. So I was translating her blog posts and her newsletters. So newsletter marketing is still out there too.
Wow. I thought newsletters were dead.
Nope.
They're still there. Awesome. Yes. So being in business and having your daughter, she would be obviously what you said around 10 now.
She's 13 now.
13, there you go.
Yeah,
So how did you manage being a mother, a wife, and being in business?
when our daughter was first born, I had that one client, my former boss, and I just sort of existed with that. I lived, day to day, doing what I was able to do. And then, as our daughter moved into school, then I was able to work more. And now she's pretty self-sustaining. So she is, she's great even when she's at home. She lets my husband and I both have a home office, so we both work from home, and she's around and she takes care of herself, and she plays ice hockey, and he takes her to all of her trainings, and takes her here and there, to shop for new equipment. So really, I'm very thankful for the help, that, I'm part of a team, and we work well as a team, my husband and I, and, we trade off our duties.
Awesome. That's great to have that support. So what keeps you motivated, Bernadette? Because, I mean, we know that in business there's, peaks and troughs, and sometimes we don't know where our next client's coming from until the phone rings or an email bings. So how do you keep yourself motivated?
I have a lot of lists of things that I want to accomplish. So in between the client work, I do have the things that I do for myself. And, you mentioned in my bio the book Branding for Beginners. That was something that I worked on last year, the very early part of the year, and that was definitely a trough as far as client work. So I was very grateful to have this project that I wanted to do for myself, and I had time to do it. So that's what I accomplished. And I haven't had a whole lot of time since that book was published to work on my next big project, but it's there. I have my list of projects, so it's waiting for me, the next trough that there is.
Awesome. So where can we get a copy of your book?
It is available on Amazon. It's through Create Space, so it's both as a Kindle or an ebook, as well as paperback.
Perfect. So we'll make sure that we have the link to that in the podcast and also on YouTube, so people can actually access that book, because it's really, really important. Like in my space, working with clients as well, we forget how important we are to the business, and we can still hide behind a logo, but people want to see us and what we do, not what the business entity does. So that's really, really important and much needed in the marketplace.
Yes. I wrote the book with sort of my parents in mind, because I worked with them when they struck out on their own and had their own business. And I saw how difficult it was for business owners to try to market themselves when they were just very busy with all of the day-to-day running of their company. And so I wrote this kind of with them in mind as the people that I'm trying to help.
Perfect. Exactly what we need. So that's awesome. We'll make sure we share that link. So
Thanks.
Bernadette, where do you see yourself in your business in 5 years?
I have been doing a lot more translation recently, translating a book right now for entrepreneurs who are looking for their next big thing. So I've just realized how much I love translating and how much I learn just through the process of reading a sentence and putting it into English words, and put not just English words, but the feeling, and really translating the true meaning and getting a meaning across, not just substituting one word for another. And it's kind of like living the document as I go through this process. And I think in 5 years I could see myself maybe switching completely to translation, but I still love copy editing English books as well. So I'm
Awesome.
not, I think that's where I see myself.
That's great. It's nice you've got a mix there of both.
Yes, yes.
So, Bernadette, thank you for joining me today. Is there anything that I haven't covered that you would like to share with the audience, whether it's, a business tip, a marketing tip, or just about their copy? Because we know how important copy is, especially on our websites, etc.
Yes. Oh, copy. And this is something that is related to my next project. Is looking at copy. And one tip that I would give is to make sure you don't forget all of the little copy that is almost invisible, and that would include email signatures. Email signatures really are the most underutilized marketing tool at your disposal, because if you have a new if you have a new service or a new product, you can really use your email signature to showcase that. And it can change. It doesn't have to be static. You set it and it's there forever. It can change.
Awesome. That is great advice. I think we forget about that. We do and I'm guilty of that. We do our email signature and we set and forget it. As long as it has the website and a phone number, we forget about the power of people actually looking at that signature.
Right. It represents you in maybe even your first communication with a potential client.
Such a great piece of advice. Thank you. So,
Sure.
Bernadette, again, thank you for joining us. We'll make sure that we put your link to your website and also the book so people can go and buy that awesome book on how to brand themselves in marketing. Is there anything else that you want to share before we wrap up?
No, but I would like to share my gratitude. Thank you so much. I know we had a little confusion in getting this set up, being on opposite sides of the world from each other, but I'm very grateful to be here. Thank you so much, Leanne.
Thank you for sharing your insights and your experience in business, and I know that will be beneficial to anybody that's listening to this podcast. So thanks a lot, Bernadette.
You're very welcome.
Bye.
Bye-bye.